So I just want to do a quick video real quick. I've seen a lot of advocacy for women to get guns on Twitter after the death of Toyin, a Black Lives Matter activist. It seems to be a lot of discussion on Twitter. We need training first. It is important for women to have guns, but they can't just get a gun with no training. They teach you slightly in the licensing courses, but they don't teach you everything you should know about guns in that training course. You don't ever want to be in a situation where your gun can be used against you. All I say is just please practice with your new weapon. I just want to put a disclaimer out here. I'm no expert. I live alone, so if you have kids or spouse, some things I say may not, you might have to tweak for your liking. I've been a gun owner for a very long time, and I just want to make sure that we're all staying safe with the proper protocol that you might not know about before you get a gun. When I say practice, I mean unloading and loading your weapon in the dark, getting to it if it's on the other side of the room, making sure you know how to turn on the safety and turn off the safety. If you're a concealed carrier, you want to practice taking it in and out of your purse, practice taking it out of wherever it's concealed, the glove compartment, the trunk, the hoister. You want to practice all of that, because in a situation where you need to get something out your purse, you literally can't fumble that bag. You can't fumble around, because if you end up dropping a gun out of your purse and somebody ends up grabbing it and using it on you, then it's a done deal. I was also trained that if you have a gun, I was also trained that if you pull out a gun, you need to be ready to shoot. They trained me, you need to be ready to kill, because that other person's not worried about your life, obviously, if they're attacking you. Especially if you pull out a gun and they have one, they're gonna shoot too. You can't pull a gun out as an intimidation tactic. Guns are not for intimidating people. If you pull it out, you better be ready to use it. You better be prepared to use it. If you know you have a hot temper, then maybe you don't need a gun. My godfather bought me a gun when I was in college. I was at a young age, of course, with my father's permission. He and my dad trained me up on gun safety and gun protocol. And I also work for the military, so I've been trained up pretty well. But I'm not an expert. These are just my personal opinions on what I've seen being a regular female in America. No one should know you have a gun. Only the people closest to me know that I'm a gun owner. That's not something that you flaunt or that you tell everybody. It shouldn't be sitting on your coffee table next to your roll-ups and your joints. That's for flexing. That's not for safety. Especially if you have an abuser or somebody you're afraid of, they definitely should know where your gun is. Imagine if y'all get into a fight and they run to pull out your weapon to use against you. Also, another piece I learned, that if somebody pulls a gun on you, do not run away. Run towards them, like low and towards them like a football player, because for one, it's going to startle them. If they really not about that life, if they wasn't about shoot you in the first place, it's going to scare them. And for two, you have a better chance of surviving, because if you run away, they can shoot you easily. And if you have to run away, don't run in a straight line. Run in a zigzag, which is also easier said than done. You don't know what you would do in that situation, but don't be like Ricky and run in a straight line, because then they're going to be able to shoot you. My best friend was shot twice, and then she attacked the person who shot her, and when she was able to disassemble the gun, then she ran after she knew that she had got them down or whatever. Do what you have to do by any means necessary to survive. I'm not sure if this is a good practice or not, but I keep loaded magazines around the house just in case I end up having to grab the gun. And some states say that you can't have a loaded gun in your house, so the magazine can't be with the gun, but I hide them around the house, and also I've lost them that way too, so remember where you hide them at. And I also practice keeping one in the chamber. You always got to be ready. Run up, get done up. Some in the kitchen, some in the living room, just in case I have to grab my weapon and ain't got no bullets. For those of you that have kids, if you want to put your gun in a safe, I suggest you practice getting to the safe. If you're under distress, you might be panicking, making sure that you can get into the safe by putting the code in if you're in a panic mode. Making sure that the safe is close enough to you so that if something happens down the hall, you can get to it. Don't have the safe on a different level than you. That makes no sense. Also, making sure that your family knows your course of action that you want to take if someone breaks in to the living room, if someone breaks in the kitchen. I also believe in training up your kids to know gun safety too. Things like not grabbing the gun by the trigger and stuff like that. I'm not going to talk about in detail stuff like that, but that too. Many people underestimate what it's like when danger arrives and you're in that situation and the adrenaline is pumping through you. You might not be able to open the safe. You might panic and freeze up. You gotta open the safe, you gotta get the gun, you gotta load the gun, you gotta take the safety off. Oh, and I don't like safeties either. There's been studies where many people have died with guns in their hands and the safety was on, because once you pull out a gun, if that other person have a gun too, they're gonna immediately start shooting. You don't have time to be playing with a safety button. I also don't like that narrative of if she had a gun, she would be safe. If she would have had a gun, she would have lived. My best friend was shot and killed, and if she would have had a gun, she still would have been shot and killed, because she was caught off guard. She wouldn't have been able to run up and get a gun. So a gun is not always the happily ever after or the solution to a problem. My dad and my godfather always told me that they would much rather pay for a lawyer to get me off for murder than to pay for my funeral. Do what you have to do to keep yourself safe. Remember that video with the officer? They threw him a surprise party and he almost pulled out his weapon. This is why I always say the people closest to you should know that you are a gun toter. I always tell my friends, do not surprise me, do not play with me, do not be in my closet when I get home, no Halloween pranks, don't do none of that, because I would hate to have to explain to your mother that I killed her child because they scared me, they startled me. It's not a game when you're a gun owner. You have to think about all of that stuff. And the way this world is set up today, ain't nothing funny no more, like nothing. So don't play. One other thing I want to say is that a lot of gun ranges have ladies' night. It seems to be on Tuesday nights. They have ladies' night where you can go, you can shoot, you can practice. If you got your own weapon, you can bring your own weapon. You can practice loading it. You can do all of that. Also, if you're concealed carrying, I suggest that you get a gun that you can handle. You also want to take into account the kind of purse you're carrying, the kind of holsters you're using, your clothes, to make sure that your holsters are covered. You want to take into account all of those things. When I lived in Florida, I concealed carry, but I carried a small weapon that was probably could fit in the palm of my hand. But a lot of states don't allow you to conceal carry. I can't conceal carry where I live now. So look up the laws in your state once you get your license and make sure that you are covering yourself in all of this. Especially in this world, if you get pulled over by the cops, you want to make sure that your license is up to date. I've been in situations before where I've been harassed by the cop and where they've looked at serial numbers on weapons that I've had, and they are not supposed to keep a database of serial numbers with weapons. I don't really know the law on that per se, but I know that what he was doing was illegal. So just know the laws, read up on them. Don't listen to me. Just read up on the laws and make sure you know your rights. Once again, I'm not an expert. These are just things that I've noticed over the years being a young woman gun owner. Y'all see how Medea always have her purse. She'll know if you carry something in your purse, don't never let your purse. My grandma never let nobody have her purse because you know what's in it. So just be safe, and I hope you never have to use none of these tips, but you never know. So it's always better to be proactive.